And welcome back to Chicago Bulls Insider. Today, we're talking about another NBA draft prospect that has a ton of upside and would certainly look good with the Chicago Bulls. And so, before we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so, in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. So, make sure you hit that subscribe, you hit that like button, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into our draft prospect today, and that is Cedric Coward. Look, this guy has a ton of upside. And let me say that again. He has a ton of upside. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the numbers. Let's start with the positives, and then we'll get into the negatives or the downside with him. And just ultimately ask the question, is he going to be a good fit here for the Chicago Bulls? And so let's start here with the numbers. And so you will see a player that just progressively got better. And so you always love to see that type of production. And so he played for Washington State this last season, and he only played in 6 games, which we're going to get into that in a moment. But for the time that he did play, 17.7 points, which he got better there. You see that he was at 15.4 points the season before that. Then after that, you can see as well that we got some other stuff that went up for him, the 7 rebounds this season, 6.7 a season before. The assist, that is huge. You see that went up to 3.7 assists. That's up from 1.7. And so, again, you're seeing that the numbers increased for him. And also, to the block shots as well. He went to 1.7 block shots from 0.9. And so you see that go up 83.9% as far as his free throw shooting is concerned. And then with the 3-point percentage, you see he's coming in at 40%. So that is good to see, a guy that can knock down 3-point shots, because we know that the Chicago Bulls have the offense which is geared towards knocking down 3-point shots. And so he certainly can fit in well. But on top of that, he's shooting 55.7 from the field. So some great percentages here. And so let's talk about just the pluses and just the real upside with him, because like I said, there is a ton of upside with Cedric Coward here. So let's start with the fact that he has good length. He's at 6'6", 206. And I mean, with his length, he is certainly a disruptor on the defensive end. And then I think when you look at his highlight clips, you will see a player that uses his length to definitely take advantage of his defender, whether he's doing turnaround shots, whether he's going to the basket, and then things like that. His length is certainly something that he benefits from. And so that's point number one. Number two, he's an athletic player. I think that, man, some of the stuff that he was doing, it just looks so smooth to me with a little bit of his footwork and things like that. I can definitely see that this guy could be, a player that is certainly going to fill the lane and finish with some authority. So I could see him fitting nicely alongside of Josh Giddey and Coby White, which I expect the Chicago Bulls to really invest into that backcourt. And so from a wing standpoint, I think that he would go nice with Modest Buzelis. I could see that these guys would be absolute terrors on a night-to-night basis. Next, I love the fact that he is a catch and shoot type of scorer. So you can throw the basketball to him. He's going to spot up, and he is going to knock down the 3-point shot. He shoots it with confidence. We just talked about the fact that he's shooting 40% and 55.7% from the field, which leads me to the next point. So you see the percentages at 55.7. The reason that he's good like that is because he has a post game. And so, yes, he has a post bag, my friend. He will go down to the post, and he will put you into just a tough situation. He can use his size. He can use his strength, turn around on defenders. He looks like he can finish in with either hand. So that looks smooth and everything else. And so I love that. And I absolutely love the pace for him. He doesn't play outside of himself, uses his basketball IQ. I think he's the type of player that, he's going to do everything he can possibly do to help the team win. He is completely locked in. And I just love the fact that he has that type of floor awareness to know, okay, if it's not my shot here, I can relocate, move around, I can find a teammate, I can find another shot for myself. And so he absolutely will do that. And as far as like distributing the basketball, I think he's pretty solid as a playmaker. I think that with that length, his basketball IQ, he certainly will make make the right type of pass. It's not going to be anything that's going to be flashy. He will definitely get it into the post. He will find a cutting player, and he knows how to pass out of the post as well because, like I said, he likes to operate in the post. And so I just think initially coming out, you would think he's going to be a 3-and-D type of player. And I definitely see he's right there as a 3-and-D type of player. And I can just see that as he builds out, he gets stronger, and everything else and gets his footwork together even more. He would be a tough player to stop in the NBA. And so next, just talking a little bit more, I think about his upside and everything else, like defense, that's huge because we've been talking about this with the Chicago Bulls. Look, they've scored well, but they got to be able to stop people. I think for them to take the next step, you want to be able to stop some teams. And he would certainly give the Chicago Bulls an identity defensively. Off the ball, with the way that he can defend with his length, he can probably guard 1 to 3. I think maybe you might even be able to get him on a 4. That's how much length you're going to get with him and just what type of motor you get with him defensively. And so I think if the Bulls were to get him, you get a defensive player immediately out of the gate. So I don't care what he's going to look like as an offensive player. I think defensively it's going to translate with his ability to defend. And so now we move to just the downside here for Cedric Coward. So first and foremost, the one thing that cut his season short where I led with the 6 games is he had a rotator cuff issue. And so he missed the rest of the season because of that, unfortunately. And so that is point number 1. He was injured after so many games. Next, the next thing with him is he's going to have to get stronger. That's one of the things that I think all the prospects coming out are going to have to do. You have to get acclimated to the NBA game. And so I don't think that that's necessarily something that is going to be a huge setback. And I think the next thing too for him is that he's really going to be a player that he's going to have to get, I think, more crafty as a shot creator. Because right now, if you go and you look, a lot of the draft to profiles and things like that will say that he pulls up his dribble too quickly. And so you can go see that either on the Ringer, Yahoo Sports, and really, I think if you just dig even more, you'll find that that has been a constant with his game is that not that he gets flustered, but he doesn't have quite the handles yet. I think he'll definitely be the player that would put in the work, and he just needs to get, just a package where he feels comfortable enough to where he can handle when you're reaching and stuff like that, and he feels comfortable getting to certain spots on the floor. And so I think that that's the next thing for him. He's going to have to become a more craftier ball handler. He's going to have to become a more craftier shot maker or shot creator, I should say. And then he's going to have to get stronger, which we talked about there. And so lastly, the last thing that could be a downfall here is that he's in the transfer portal, And so right now, I think that I'm seeing that he is slated to be with Duke, or at least he's committed to Duke. And so, perhaps he's headed that way. I mean, he still has some other directions that he can go, but he's very much in the transfer portal. So that means that, he could decide not to join the NBA draft. He might pull out of this thing, but I think that he's a certain player, like I said before, that, again, I cannot stress this enough. Upside, upside, upside. But immediately right now, he looks like he's going to be a high impact role player. Okay, so that's without him getting the upside. He's a high impact role player right now, I feel like. And so that's why I think the Chicago Bulls would certainly want to take him if he's there and they don't get a center, because he addresses what you need on the wing. He also, too, even though you're not going with the front line of center like we would want, but I would love to have a wing here that can do all he can do defensively. And so there's a couple players that he reminds me of. And so first and foremost, let me go to one of the comparisons that they have here, and this was via the Ringer. They give him an Ayo Dosunmu, and so I could certainly see a bit of that Ayo Dosunmu. You're talking about a versatile player that can knock down three-point shots. He can get to the cup, and we know how tough Ayo is. And so I think that this young man, he's going to give you that type of toughness. Another comparison that they give him is Jeremy Grant that plays for the Portland Trailblazers. And so that is another comparison. And so with my comparisons, he reminds me a lot of a Lou Deng. And so I get Luol Deng type of vibes from him. And I could very much see that Cedric could turn into a Luol Deng type of player. And we love Luol Deng. We love the defense that he gave us. We love his ability to knock down shots, play off of Derrick Rose. Like, he's that type of guy. He would fit very nicely, like I said, with a Josh Giddey or Coby White who can go just do work. He will be there to knock down the three-point shots when they draw tons of defenders, and he's also going to be able to clean up a lot of those defensive mistakes as well. And so the next player that he reminds me of, okay, and so I'm just saying me, and this is just shades of this, but I very much see a Kawhi Leonard with him. I see a player that once he gets to the league and he puts in the work, like, I could see that, because Kawhi, what does he do? He can go to the post. What does Kawhi do? It's a very simple game. He uses his basketball IQ. He doesn't do too much. I can definitely see this with Cedric Coward. Like, I see shades of a Kawhi Leonard, especially with him getting stronger, and just looking at his highlights, the way that he looked in college. Again, I know it's college, but man, I'm like, if he can bring that to the NBA, I certainly could see this. And so you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about Cedric Coward. Would you like to see him with the Chicago Bulls if he does make himself available? And, this would factor in that the Chicago Bulls don't go and get a center, which I think that they definitely should. But, man, this is a player that I'm just not sure that I could necessarily pass on him, especially just with what the upside is, what he would do for you defensively. I think that he would be a huge piece for the Chicago Bulls. And so you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking about him. And as we always say, look, go Bulls, and we will see you on the next one. All right, peace.